The Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
Generating the playbook here presented by fantasyalarm.com on the Bettor Sports Network. John and Pemba with Adam Ronis, bringing you a Week 5 Thursday night preview here of today's slate here, Adam. We got the Broncos going against the Colts. A lot of storylines coming into this game. So we're going to spend a lot of today looking that over, getting everybody updated on the latest news. Of course, we want you to be part of the show. Go to your app store, Apple iTunes, Google Play, download the Bettor Sports app, sign up, join the show, come in with us, get in the chat, call in, come on live with Adam and I, help you guys get ready here for the start of Week 5.
For sure. The season is flying by, as always. It feels that way. Football comes at you quickly, but we definitely enjoy it. And Thursday night game, I thought this would have been a better game a few weeks ago. We'll get into it a little bit later on, but it's still football, and there's no baseball tonight, so can just focus on that.
Yeah, exactly, right. Just the one sport. We do have some preseason NBA. I don't know if you've been checking out any of the player props for that, Adam, but some of these books are they're not really catching on to the fact that these guys are out here playing 25 minutes a night. DeJounte Murray played 31 earlier today. I know, again, this is a lot more football to talk about, but you and I, we're big basketball guys here. So, later on, obviously, we'll eventually start getting into some NBA, but don't sleep on the preseason NBA props there.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're doing a lot on Prize Picks, and unfortunately, Prize Picks is not legal in my state.
Yes.
So I don't get to take advantage of that stuff.
That is tough. Again, they don't yet have sports betting in Massachusetts, but maybe soon. They had a meeting today. Maybe by January, they're thinking maybe retail. February for online mobile. So fingers crossed here for that, Adam, because it would be good. It'd be good to be able to get some, not have to drive to New Hampshire or Rhode Island to place a bet every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm out here in Jersey, so one of the first legal states. So, and even the FanDuel Sportsbook is not that far. I've only been there twice because I'm able to do it on my phone. So right. I've been fortunate there, but for some reason, Prize Picks is not. And then I do a lot of the videos on Fantasy Alarm, and sometimes, especially early on, you get some juicy props. And hopefully I'm giving enough out to help people win because I can't take advantage of it. And I do see discrepancies between them and some of the bigger sports books.
Yeah, they're definitely been moving some lines, especially in the NBA. Again, they've been pricing these guys at 12.5, 13 points, and these NBA players are playing 25 minutes off the rip in these preseason games, and they're hitting the overs pretty easily. So we have that content over in the Discord. I've been putting some things out there on Twitter. Been putting some things out there, but we're ripping and ready to go for the NBA season start. But like I said, we got NFL to talk about. We went out over yesterday. A lot of injury news yesterday. A lot of key players didn't practice on Wednesday. You kind of went on and said, you don't really get bothered by the Wednesday injury report. It's Thursday. It's Friday that we really need to pay attention to. And now that it's Thursday, we've had some guys not practice for consecutive days now. Kyle Pitts didn't practice again with his hamstring injury. Does that now become more concerning for you with it 2 days in a row that he's been out of practice?
Well, yeah, especially, again, Friday's the most important, but I think you do have to be a little alarmed here if you do have Kyle Pitts. I mean, you already are anyway because he's not giving you the production that you drafted him for. So, yeah, I think you do have to start to get concerned. And I would think many people who drafted Pitts probably in round 3, they might have not taken a backup tight end depending on how many roster spots you have. I typically, if I have 16 roster spots, I usually tend not to take a backup quarterback and a backup tight end, although I've kind of had to alter that a little bit since Cole Kmet was on some of those rosters. So if I have 20 roster spots, I usually take a backup quarterback and a backup tight end. And obviously, it's been a position where people are searching for answers all season long. So a lot of the tight ends that we've seen kind of come onto the scene have been picked up. So someone with Kyle Pitts could be in a tough situation this week. So it's not a good sign. Hamstrings are always tricky. Could it be mild? Are they just being conservative here? But 2 days in a row, you start to get concerned. Obviously, if he sits Friday, then you're really have to make sure you have a contingency plan.
Find a replacement. They face Tampa Bay this week. Matt in the chat over here is wondering if Brady's outfield life is going to impact the Bucs' performance. No, I don't think so. I think Brady.
I don't think so.
Brady is just straightforward Plus, with the football. Like if anything, he just now has recommitted himself, I think, to the NFL. He literally, I think, chose family or football, and he's like, football. This is where my life's at. So
yeah. Plus, to me, a divorce is a good thing, so it can only help you be more positive. No, I'm just kidding out there. To all the married people, don't get divorced and blame it on me. But I mean, Brady.
Which Super Bowl rings do you think she asked for in the divorce? It's like,
man, that's
the 20.
She has more money than him, right?
Yeah. Well, she was making more money than him. Yeah, for sure.
That's going to be interesting.
He probably goes after the 28-3 Falcons Super Bowl ring, right? That's the one. That she probably takes, try to get that.
I don't know, man.
The big comeback there. So obviously,
messy.
Kyle Pitts missed practice. Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas, again, not practicing for the Saints. Alvin Kamara was quoted as saying he feels like he'll be ready to go this week. It's a pretty interesting matchup for the Saints. And if we have to now go back to Andy Dalton, Chris Olave, I think that could be a very contrarian look possibly at when it comes to DFS. I mean, Andy Dalton on DraftKings is just $5,100. If he didn't fumble last week, you would have had like 17 fantasy points. Going up in their matchup against Seattle this week, that could be a nice little stack. But again, missing Winston, missing Thomas again, not what many fantasy managers are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, Winston obviously more of a super flex league quarterback, and we should have known this was coming. I don't know how he played a couple weeks ago with the fractures in his back and made the trip to London and didn't play. So it's not surprising there. I mean, Michael Thomas, I took him in one draft. It was the FSGA back in June. I think it was round 6. I'm like, you know what? I'll take a shot here. And then every other draft, I was just like, I couldn't pull the trigger. Yeah. I guess having one share in case it worked out. And, he did score 2 touchdowns week 1, but
he had a good week 2 as well.
But I think the reason people were shying away from him is like, well, the guy hasn't played much football the last couple of years. Is his body going to hold up? I mean, now it's a toe. Just at this point, I would expect him not to play, and it certainly bodes well for Chris Olave anyway.
Yeah, for sure there. CeeDee Lamb didn't practice today, but as he was quoted as saying, he feels pretty confident that he'll be good to go when it comes to playing this weekend against the Rams. Again, we talked about the curious spread on that one last night on yesterday's show with the Rams was a 5.5-point home favorites here.
Oh, it's 4.5. It's moving to the Rams, so I guess money's coming in on the Rams.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting with that. I mean, I guess, I see both sides of it because – when you look at the Cowboys, they really haven't beaten anyone. As impressive as, people want to say about Cooper Rush, I mean, he did make some bad throws that could have been picked. I mean, it's really the defense that's carrying them.
Yeah.
They beat the Giants. That's
not
a big deal.
I know they're not.
That one was a big one, but at the same, I think the Bengals, though, are not as good as we thought. Even last week against Miami, that was not an impressive win. I mean, Tua left that game early, and the Bengals had to struggle. I know it was 27-15 the final, but 13 points came in the fourth quarter. That was a close game. I mean,
Super Bowl hangover for them, probably, you think.
The Dolphins were up 15-14 after 3 quarters. Yeah. So it was a good win. It was unexpected. I think they were 7-8 point dogs. So, okay, fine. You give them that one. But then beating the Giants and Washington is just not that impressive. I think the other thing is you look at the Rams. Everyone saw the Rams Monday night look bad, right? Yeah. It was a nationally televised game. San Francisco always beats up on them. And the Rams have to come out and play a good game at some point. I know on paper it looks bad because their offensive line and Dallas defensive pressure that they can apply to Stafford. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see the Rams play a good game here.
I mean, they usually say the early money is the sharp money, right? So, I mean, they're putting in the money on the Rams and moving that lineup.
But I don't think the Rams are that good, though.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't looked good, like I said, and I think when that spread starts getting as high as it is, more people are the public likely Saturday or Sunday is going to start betting the Cowboys, and we'll see that line come back down there. We're getting some congratulations for you in chat. You ended up taking down that baseball league yesterday, Adam?
Not well. got to bring this up, man.
Sorry. A different baseball league then maybe,
I won my home league by 2
Okay.
points. The league that I was sweating during this show, I came in yesterday with 118 points. And the guy in second, I think he had 115. He finished with 116. I finished with 114 and a half.
Damn.
I lost 3 points in batting average and a half a point in run. I think my team hit like 190. And the worst part was it had like 40 something at bats. So most of my guys played, whereas the other teams I was competing with, they had guys out of the lineup. So they only had like 20, 25 at bats. So their average couldn't move down as much. So yeah, that was a heartbreaking loss.
As we were signing off yesterday, you were waiting on a Jared Kelenic at bat. Did that not come through for you?
Well, no, it wasn't that. You know who killed me? Of all people, someone at James McCann. He had like 3 hits.
Had a homer.
The dude hasn't done anything this year for the Mets. And then he's going to kill me in a meaningless game? Oh, man. Yeah, but Manny Margot went 0 for 5. He had an at-bat in the 9th, and he got out. So, yeah, that ruined my night. I was pretty depressed last night, and thanks for bringing it up because now I'm depressed again.
Well, like I said, somebody was in here congratulating you. Marty was congratulating you on the home league championship.
He's in my home league, and I won that. So that one, I felt like I trailed most of the year. I kind of feel bad for the guy in first because he had a really good team, and he was ahead most of the way. And I kind of I thought I was not going to. I didn't think I could compete for first. I made trades at the deadline. I gave up Juan Soto in an OBP league, cheap keeper. It's a keeper league. I always go for it, even though I felt like I don't know if I can get first. So I loaded up, and if you would have asked me end of August, I'm like, yeah, I can't win. But my team just got really hot offensively, and I was able to hold on in that one and win by 2. But yeah, the other one was a real tough loss.
Too bad. We were sweating with that one with you yesterday, so you know.
Yeah, it was bad, man. Even the guy who won, my boy Chris Vaccaro from the GST, he texted me during the show, wow, I'm only down a half point. He's like, I'm not sure you could lose any more points. He obviously didn't look close enough.
Right.
And he was surprised that he won. He had the day before he conceded to me. He said, God, looks like you're going to win again because I had won that league 3 straight years. So now I got to take second. And I hate losing, man. I know everyone says it, but I really hate losing, which is why.
Trust me, I worked with you now for a handful of years. Yeah. I know your competitiveness. Yeah.
Very, very competitive. I cannot stand losing. So I tweeted out all my results. I did not think I had a good baseball year. I mean, there was a lot of second place finishes, third, fourth in tout, fifth in labor, fourth in labor, fifth in tout. I won tout last year. I won tout 3 times. This fifth is my worst finish ever. So, but I hope to help all the people at Fantasy Alarm. I know my rankings were pretty good. So hopefully I helped you guys win. But yeah, I hate losing.
For sure. All right, back to some NFL here. Again, if you guys have any questions, comments, go ahead, throw them in the chat. Download the Bettor Sports app from the iTunes and Google Play Store. Sign up, join the show, get involved here with Adam and I throughout today's show here. I see some start-sit questions in there. We'll get to those as well, so just hang on there as we go through our game preview a little bit later on. More notable names hitting the injury report. Deontay Johnson's got a hip injury. I don't know how serious that ends up being. We'll see obviously tomorrow if he practices or not. Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney. Toney did not practice. Wan'Dale Robinson was limited. So that merry-go-round continues to happen for the Giants and their lack of receiving options. Rashad Bateman didn't practice today again. Dawson Knox didn't practice. Isaiah McKenzie was limited with his concussion, wore a non-contact jersey. Brian Hoyer went on IR. Not that really is a big fantasy impact thing there. Jalen Waddle returned to practice. And David Montgomery returned to practice there, Adam.
Yeah, that's not good if you have Khalil Herbert like me in multiple leagues. I would like Montgomery to sit another week out, get healthy, my man.
All that fab money spent on Herbert for, was it 65 yards last week? And now he may be back to toast.
Well, I didn't spend them in fab. I drafted him.
Sure.
So I'm in deeper leagues. So, yeah, the more shallow formats. Yeah, that was kind of a risk. We'll see, though. I think he's a really good player. I think the big one that this week is going to be Rashad Bateman. And that's a problem because that game was Sunday night. But based on what I'm reading and hearing, I don't see how he plays. It's like a foot injury. So, what kind of foot injury? So they're optimistic, but I think they're just kind of talking. So I have Bateman in multiple leagues, and he's slotted in the starting lineup now. But I'm probably by Saturday night, Sunday, I think I'm going to have to take him out. And unless you have an alternative. And,
Right.
I guess Tyler Boyd, if you have him, but and then Duvernay, I guess, in that game.
Yeah,
he would probably.
I'm looking at some reports now. It said from one of their team reporters from the Baltimore Sun, it said Duvernay was running as the top receiver. And then there was a list of snaps so far at practice. Duvernay, Demarcus Robinson was actually the second guy. So if Duvernay's been snagged up, maybe you pick up Demarcus Robinson, and if you have to slot him in, that's the option for you. If there's no other availability on your waiver wire to fill in for Bateman there.
Yeah, because then you have Raiders Chiefs Monday, so maybe someone from that game. But
got to put him in your flex, though. Make sure he's in your flex.
Well, yeah, we go over this all the time. If you have anyone in tonight's game, like I have Sutton and Pittman on the team, they're both in the wide receiver spot. You don't put them in the flex. You got to leave. You got to have flexibility in case you want to use a running back or a receiver. Right. For people to understand, say you put Sutton in the flex spot tonight, right? And then you have an issue with a running back, or you have 3 good running backs, and now you can only start 2 of them because you put Sutton in your flex. So you hurt your team. So anyone playing in the Thursday night game should always be in a wide receiver, tight end, running back slot, not in your flex. Now, if you have 3 guys tonight and you only start 2 receivers in a flex, okay, that's a different story. If they're 3 receivers, maybe you have Sutton, Judy, and Pittman, possible. Yeah. But no one from tonight's game should be in a flex spot because you need to leave that flexibility open for the weekend. So I'll probably just go with someone else, not wait for the game, but obviously I'll wait on reports from the weekend. Usually, Schefter's pretty good on late Saturday night of saying this guy's expected to play, this guy's not, but hopefully we'll get clarity. Maybe they declare, well, they are home, right? Yeah, they're not traveling, so that won't help. Because usually if they're on the road, the guy will travel and you'll know.
Yeah. Lions, no Amon-Ra St. Brown or DeAndre Swift at practice again here. But DJ Chark did practice, as did Josh Reynolds. I think the Hawkinson news yesterday too, that he was dealing with a little bit of a hip injury. Obviously getting Chark back is good for that offense. They face New England though. PFF tweeted out a stat that in single man coverage, both Jonathan Jones and Jack Jones of New England have ranked out the highest in terms of single man coverage and PFF grading. So could be tougher for Detroit to throw the football here against the Patriots defense, which is kind of held up pretty good so far this year, all things considered.
Yeah, Patriots have also played 3 of their 4 on the road. And we know Goff tends to not play well on the road and specifically outdoors. And I think this is his first game outdoors this year. Yeah, 3 games at home and at Minnesota.
Yeah. Stuff. Anytime you get guys out of domes and put them into any elements, you always kind of wonder what their success was like. We talked a lot about that with Drew Brees at times in the Saints offense. You get them outside of New Orleans and, it becomes a little bit of a different situation there. Still great, but occasionally the numbers would go down. We mentioned Josh Reynolds. We have a question in our chat here. Our thoughts on Rashad Penny this week. Hunter Renfrow could be returning. Would you play him for Zay Jones? Josh Reynolds. So I guess we're talking about Renfrow, Jones, or Reynolds.
To me, you can't answer this question right now. We don't know if Renfrow's going to play. I know he's back in practice, but we don't know. Zay Jones has an ankle issue. He was limited in practice. And Reynolds is dependent on Amon-Ra St. Brown. And even if he sits, Chark could be back. So, this is one I think you have to wait on. Yeah,
I would definitely agree. It's a situation you want to wait on. If we had to end up coming down to picking one, I do kind of like Zay Jones in their matchup this week. I know that Christian Kirk obviously is the number 1 there, but against Houston, if Zay Jones is healthy, I'm for it. And Rashad Penny's the number 1 running back there in Seattle. I'm not really too worried about their matchup against New Orleans this week either. So continue to get part of the show, guys. Again, if you want your questions answered today, you got to go to your app store, Google Play, iTunes, download the Bettor Sports Network app, sign up, join our show, and we'll go ahead and get you guys involved with everything that is going on there as well. When it comes to up next here, Adam, where you and I are going to start breaking down some of this Thursday night football game, give you some of our top plays. We're going to take a betting preview look at it. as well. Some player props that you and I are keying in on. And I wrote up a DFS showdown article for tonight's contest over at Fantasy Alarm as well. So be sure you check all of that out. And this is when Adam and I get back, we'll be sure to go over that. This has been the Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm on the Bettor Sports Network.
Bettor Sports Network. It's sports talk done better. Corey, Nando, and Friends. Presented by Mayo Media on Bettor Sports Network.
I'm convinced that Babe Ruth is a fictional character. Babe Ruth is not real. No, it's not. Babe Ruth is not real. We've been hoodwinked. We've been bamboozled. We've been led astray. We've been run amok. Babe Ruth. I don't know the rest. Babe Ruth is a fictional character. I'm dead serious. Babe Ruth is a fictional character. Y'all are never going to get me to believe that Babe Ruth is real. Babe Ruth is like a baseball Santa Claus. I'm not buying it. After I saw those highlights last night of Babe Ruth, I'm like, there's no way you can tell me that Babe Ruth is a real person. Who do you know? There is nobody under the sound of my voice that has ever seen Babe Ruth play. I asked my pop, you ever seen Babe Ruth play? He's like, no. Nobody's ever seen Babe Ruth play.
I mean, come on.
I'm telling you, Babe Ruth is a fictional character. Even Babe Ruth baseball cards, it looked like it's drawn. Like, Babe Ruth is not real. Y'all trying to pull a fast one. Listen, I don't know who made this up. Maybe it was Phil Rizzuto. Maybe it's the Lenny Melnick. But Babe Ruth is not a real person. There's no way. Everything about Babe Ruth is sketchy. If you didn't go to the games, how do you know that it really happened? Or I listened on the radio. You listen to Ovaltine on the radio. That old school radio was all fiction. Everything on old school radio was fake. But you think Babe Ruth is real?
Look, he lived until 1948. So if you find someone who's like 85 years old, they might have remembered him when he was little, when they were a little teenager.
Babe Ruth was made up by baseball purists. I am certain.
You do that thing where you pause the Babe Ruth video and you zoom in and you zoom in and you zoom in and you see like some artist's autograph like right here.
Yeah,
digital art right here. Yeah.
Somebody needs to investigate this and see if Babe Ruth is a real person. I'm pretty sure Babe Ruth is a fictional character created to make people think that like there was this great jolly old baseball player that drank beers and ate hot dogs and hit 60 home runs. Like the home run record before Babe Ruth was like 14. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and
but
now
he figured it out. Like who figured out the dunk, right? Like he's just like,
that's like Dr. J or something, right? Then Dr. J, probably was before Dr. J, but Dr. J made the dunk famous. Babe Ruth made the home run famous, or maybe that was a way to get people to like, we're gonna make baseball America's pastime. But in order to do so, we need somebody who we can make the face of the sport. And they didn't have no face of the sport. So they're like, okay, let's make him a fictional guy that played for the Red Sox and was traded to the Yankees for like tickets to tickets to cats. You know what I'm saying? Like the Red Sox get a Yankees.
You tried to say
is there any footage of Babe Ruth in the Red Sox uniform? None. I'm telling you, Babe Ruth is a fictional character.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis.
Ryan, here next the pass, throws left side into the end zone, walking in, touchdown! Goal alley Cox, his second touchdown today. It's all tied into the red zone for the Colts. It's 24-16.
Judy tried to get lined up. Now he's going to be the number 2 receiver of trips wide right. Wilson sets, throws, pass is caught by Judy, who rolls into the end zone. Touchdown, Denver!
The Playbook, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Welcome back in, everybody. The Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm. I'm John Pemba with Adam Ronis here, previewing now the Thursday night football game. You heard just right there, Colts Radio Network, Broncos Radio Network, breaking down some top plays for tonight's NFL DFS Showdown action. You can go to fantasyalarm.com right now. Check out the full Showdown playbook written up by Howard Bender over there. I did a FanDuel specific captain article, which you can go ahead and check out all on the site right now. Adam, Colts, Broncos. Broncos are 3.5-point favorites. Last total I saw, I think, was 42.5. How are you feeling about this team, knowing that both are going in without their starting running backs?
Yeah, look, the Colts have been terrible this year. They found a way to beat the Chiefs, but they have been dreadful offensively. They're last in overall DVOA on offense, which is kind of hard to believe, and 32nd in rushing, which you wouldn't have expected with Jonathan Taylor, who is out tonight. Offensive line has not performed up to the level we expected. So Phillip Lindsay was activated from the practice squad, so he'll probably get some carries. Nyheim Hines. Look, the Broncos haven't looked good, and we've seen them a lot in prime time. Their biggest issue is just red zone offense. They've struggled to convert into red zone. They have moved to football. Defensively, Broncos have been good, especially against the pass, and the Colts have been good against the run and vulnerable against the pass. So I think everyone looks at the under in this game, and I think it's going over. It's a low total. It's dropped. A lot of money is coming in. A lot of these primetime games have gone under, and I think the Colts have gone under a 9 straight. So I think this is going to go over. I think you're probably going to see a little bit more offense than we think. I'm not saying it's going to be a shootout, but I do think because of the running back situation that these teams will have to pass a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think with Denver, you want that anyway. It should be Melvin Gordon. Boone will be mixed in. Latavius Murray was not activated. We talked about it yesterday, coming over from London as he played with the Saints last week, so he will not be active tonight. And Melvin
They
Gordon
activated Dare. Was it Obungawale? Is that did I nail that one? Was I close?
Yeah, is that the from he was with Tampa, right?
Tampa, Jacksonville. Like he's kind of floated around a few places, but they actually activated him tonight as well, which is really just giving them another pass catching back. Like I think, or was it he, or it was who else was it possibly that they called? No, I lied. It was the other guy from Jacksonville, Ozigbo.
Divine Ozigbo. Yeah,
they were both in Jacksonville. They both had the weird last names. So he's the one that actually got called up today. Devin Ozigbo got called up today for their main lineup. So not Latavius, Ozigbo got added. We'll see again, probably just sort of an emergency back situation. Maybe he gets a touch or two, but they're planning on leaning pretty heavily on Melvin Gordon per some of the reports in this one.
Yeah, you would expect that. He's had the fumbling issue. He's had a neck issue as well. I know we didn't really see it last week, but the Colts have been pretty good against the run, and Shaquille Leonard will be out too. So I don't know. I just feel like this is going to be more of a pass-heavy approach for both teams. Because again, with Nyheim Hines, you can't give this guy the ball 15, 20 times a game on the ground. He's just not built that way. Yeah, Lindsey will get some, but I don't think they want to give Lindsey, 12 to 15 carries either. I know Matt Ryan has been really shaky this year. Again, protection has been a problem, but it's amazing how bad the run game is for the Colts. It's hard to believe when you see these numbers, 24th in yards after contact, 29th in yards before contact, which shows you the offensive line's a real problem. And Matt Ryan's getting sacked a lot. The 6th highest sack rate in the NFL. He's getting sacked 8.9% of the time. Yeah. So
Broncos are one of my favorites. Again, if you go over to Fantasy Line, you can check out the article that I wrote up. But I'll give you my top MVP plays for tonight. Denver's defense is actually number one. You get the little cheat where you can get your 15 points right away because they start all defenses off at 10. They give you the 1.5x boost, so automatically your defense starts off at 15 fantasy points. But I agree with you. This is a spot where Matt Ryan is going to have to be on the road, outside of a dome in Denver, and they're going to lean on him to throw the football against a defense that's been pretty good, obviously this year, holding teams to under 17 points except in every game except last week. So like that defense has been pretty stingy. The one thing I thought was interesting was that Denver struggles against the run. If you look at DVOA, they rank 20th against the run. So they may not have the prettiest running backs in Indy, but they may be the most successful plan for them to win tonight.
Yeah, because we mentioned they're good against the pass. You got Surtain playing really well. He's probably going to go up against Pittman, I would think. Pittman, I think you just have to lower expectations for, but I would still play him, obviously, in season-long leagues. DFS, different story. Depends on price and how you want to structure everything. I think Denver's offense will start to put the ball in the end zone at some point. I mean, they've scored 30% of the time a touchdown in the red zone, and They've had fumbles inside. They had week 1, 2 fumbles,
2 fumbles
inside, like at the goal line. I mean, so that hurts as well. So they are moving the football. And I think as Wilson gets more acclimated, we know the road team on a short week is always tough. And of all places, Denver with that altitude. Look, to me, Denver minus 3.5 seems like a good bet, but I'm a little worried about it, right? Like, because everything points to Denver, like how, and I always worry about that. Although there are 3s. If it was 3, I would take Denver. 3.5, you always worry about that. It could be a field goal game.
I mean, you're in a spot where you can buy it down by the half a point, you know?
I don't know. Do you feel the same way? Like, can you bet on the Colts in this game?
I don't think so. They didn't look very good, obviously, that week where they lost Pittman and they only had Taylor, and now they don't have Taylor. You're going to force Matt Ryan. Again, I said this the other day. You know, people were excited that Matt Ryan came over here. It was one of the reasons why I wasn't totally buying the Michael Pittman hype. Like, I get why people liked him in fantasy this year. But to me, I didn't think Matt Ryan was going to be this massive upgrade over what they had last season. And Pittman was being taken among the top 10 wide receivers and being drafted, late second rounds. Like, I like the talent, but Matt Ryan isn't the solution to bump Michael Pittman into a top 5 wide receiver. They're still going to run a ton. And
no one took him as a top 5.
No. I said people were drafting him where they were thinking that Matt Ryan was good for his value, that there's an opportunity for him to build upon what he gave you last season. And I just didn't really see that. I didn't feel like much of what he did last year, there was a lot of room for growth given the offensive style that they want to run in Indy. Again, I didn't think Matt Ryan is this young gunslinger coming down there. Is he better than Carson Wentz? Maybe marginally, but, I don't really think so, at this point in his career. And, now they're going to have to rely on that connection at least for a little bit. But, again, I haven't seen.
Here's the thing. Ryan doesn't need to be great, though. I mean, I know he had a down game last week, but look at Pittman's first 2 games, 22 targets, 8 and 9 catches. He had huge week 1 where he put up 27 in a PPR, week 2, 17.2, and then obviously a down week last week, with 3 for 31. So I still think Pittman can put up good numbers. It's just because there's no one else in this offense. Like, he is going to be fed the football.
Yeah, they finally connected with Paris Campbell last week. I know you're happy to see that, right?
No, I'm not. I've cut him already. It's best ball, he's still there, but I cut him. Once Pittman was out and he did nothing, I said, all right, this is it.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I said, they're going to put the ball on the shoulders, obviously, here of Matt Ryan. We'll see if he can get it done outside. I question that. I lean Broncos here. I know you like the over, and maybe you're a little bit more in depth when it comes to betting those things than I am, the more of the game totals. I look at this and I think under, right? Both offenses aren't really doing much. Both defenses, I think, are pretty strong. It would take somebody figuring out something to, I think, get us over that hump, just the way these games are being played. I don't think the Colts have an explosive enough offense to hang up the 30 points Las Vegas just did on Denver. And I don't know if Denver's in sync yet enough to put points up on an Indy team that was able to, hold down the Chiefs, right? So, to me, I think an under is probably where I would lean if I was betting that, but I like the Broncos here with the points too, because I actually think the Broncos defense might put them in a lead, a pick 6 or something like that, or an interception, turnover, and shallow field,
Well, everyone is on the under. I mean, that line has moved. I think it opened 43.5. It's down to 42. It's actually 41.5 on FanDuel Sportsbook. So misses me just saying, okay, everyone's on the under. I think that's
over.
Yeah.
Like I said, they always say a lot of the early money is the sharp money, a lot of the late money is the public money. So public money's coming in hammering the under. You're probably right to bet the over at this point.
Because that's what I'm saying. If you break down everything logically and look at it, everything is going to point to the under. Everything. Yeah. And all the money is on the under. So that concerns me. And I think and part of the reason why is I think you will see it be more pass heavy. Now, if Jonathan Taylor was here, they would feed him the ball probably 25 times. They don't have that situation tonight. And Denver's in a similar situation where they're not going to give Melvin Gordon 25 carries. How much are they going to want to incorporate Boone? We did see Boone operate ahead of Gordon for a bit last week when Javonte went down. So I just think this is going to be a little bit more pass heavy than we think. And, that means more incompletions. The clock stops, leading to more possession. So, yeah, logically, if you look at all the stats, like I said, the Colts have gone under in 9 straight games. And we know Denver has struggled offensively. but all they need to do is convert some or more of their red zone opportunities to touchdowns, because that's going to happen at some point. They're not going to be this bad in the red zone. And I think as Russ gets acclimated to the new system, new teammates, you'll start to see this offense put the ball in the end zone more.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why, I also like Brandon McManus tonight in DFS. Again, showdowns, I tend to lean kickers and defenses. People focus in a lot on the skill position players. And McManus already has 2 50-yard field goals this season. They're in Denver. If he scores you 10 fantasy points on a showdown slate, he's going to be among the top higher scoring players, especially in the game that we're looking at. Like you said, 43 at the high, 41 at the low. I mean, I think that if there's not going to be many touchdowns scored in this game, the kickers and defenses may be what it takes to kind of go over the top. I think the showdown Millie over on DraftKings a couple weeks ago actually had a kicker as the captain play and ended up taking that one down there. So just some different strategies as we kind of look at the betting preview and the overall game preview here of this Colts-Broncos game. We're going to talk about player props in a little bit. We do have some more start-sit questions and one pertaining to this game here, Adam. Let me ask your thoughts here. Needs a start one in standard scoring. A-Ross wants to know Sutton, Gordon, Damien Harris, or Herbert? Khalil Herbert. Okay, I was like, Justin Herbert. Yeah, Khalil Herbert here.
Well, we can't answer Herbert right now because we don't know about Montgomery. He was limited today, so you got to X him out.
This has to be a flex play then, obviously, right? So
I would go Sutton. I mean, he's been getting targeted every week. I do think Damien Harris obviously has a great matchup this week against Detroit. I
think so, yeah. I kind of honestly, I kind of like Harris in that spot, truthfully.
I do too. I have him ranked pretty high, but I mean,
does Sutton get Stephon Gilmore tonight? Like, is that his matchup? You think?
I don't think it'll matter.
Okay.
He's been so good, man. I mean, every week he's produced. I mean, I know it's standard, but even in the standard, 7.2, 12.2, 9.7, and 11.2. So, I mean, I guess in a standard you could lean Harris.
I think who do you think is more likely to score a touchdown, Sutton or Harris? I think Damien Harris probably.
Probably. It is Detroit. Yeah. All right, let's go Harris.
Okay.
So yeah. Probably PPR, I'd go Sutton.
Yeah. Because Ramondre Stevenson's been the one catching more of the passes lately.
Because I like one of the props I like tonight is Cortland Sutton over 4.5 receptions. It's a little juiced, but I mean, the guy has had 4 in week 1, and that was just a bad performance in Seattle. Then 7, 8, and 5. At least 7 targets in every game. I mean, they're just throwing the football up to him. So I like his over 4.5 receptions tonight.
We got a defense question here, too, as well. Would you play the Denver defense tonight or the Vikings defense over the weekend? I think I would lean Denver's D. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think they're just better. And you have Matt Ryan, who could throw an interception. Matt Ryan, who's been getting sacked. It's
Denver's home, too, which is where I lean. I also like
I mean, Minnesota is home against Chicago. See, that's the thing. Okay, what do you want from a defense, right? Sacks and interceptions, turnovers. Chicago don't even throw the football, right?
Yeah,
so, you know what I mean?
You hope Fields fumbles, I guess,
Yeah, I mean, if that game stays close, Fields not going to put the ball up in the air. With Ryan, he's going to drop back to pass. Again, they're going to still try and run the football, but they don't have the workhorse of Jonathan Taylor. And like we mentioned, Ryan, sacked, over 8% of the time, 6th in the NFL. So, I have Denver's defense in a few spots, and I'm going to play them.
Yeah, I'm in a full-on agreement with you there as well. You hinted already at one of your favorite player props for tonight being the Cortland Sutton one. When we get back, we're going to break down the player props for the rest of the slate, the ones we're keying in on, ones we like here. And remember, if you want to be part of the show, you want your questions answered, go to the App Store, download the free Bettor Sports app in your iTunes and Google Play Store, register, sign up, click join show, get involved. What are we laughing at?
Wait, I got to figure out if this is real.
Sure.
Tampa Bay released their injury report. And does it really say divorce next to Tom Brady?
No, I can't imagine that being real. But that would be funny if they. I've seen there's been so many fake Tom Brady, Giselle Bundchen memes going around. You never know which is real and which is fake here. So maybe we'll decipher some of that too when we get back here. This has been the Playbook presented by Fantasy Line on the Bettor Sports Network.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I think it's hard to judge Daniel Jones. He's got no offensive line and he's got no weapons. So, he still made a couple of bad decisions this year, but it's really hard to judge him. And that's the difficult part for the Giants. They have to figure out if he's the guy. How can you make that assessment when he's throwing a Kenny Golladay who can't catch anything?
Jones in a shotgun set. Back to throw. Has time. Fastball to the right side. Golladay makes the catch, but then he fell down and he never controlled it. It's incomplete. He tried to run away from the defender and he dropped it.
Richie James, look at this. It is bad. They really need Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney out there. And even then, it's still not enough. And I believe Daniel Jones is the most pressured quarterback in football. And it's going to be hard for him to have success.
Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
What can we say about 5 more passes batted at the line by Baker Mayfield? That's 12 for the season. I've never seen anything like this. Last year's leader had 17 for the entire season. Mayfield's on pace for 51, and the Panthers barely throw.
Thank you. They barely throw. They don't make no explosive plays. They can't do nothing offensively. But when you look at this team, they ran 51 plays yesterday. They had 220 total yards. They ran the ball for 40 yards. They threw the ball for 180. On the throws, it was under 5 yards a pass. They are using their short passing game as a running game, but it ain't going nowhere. There's no explosive plays from anybody. Baker Mayfield's a dog, and that was just a terrible display of football. There was a reason to boo. There's a reason to be calling for Rule's job. There's a reason to want everybody out in Carolina because that thing is pitiful.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
We are hearing reports, Ray, that people felt this was so unfair and so dastardly that people are changing rules and allowing folks to remove Kamara from their starting lineup. You cannot break this rule. This is lousy, Ray, and I hate the precedent that some people are setting with this.
Later on, the commissioner said, oh, yeah, sorry, you didn't get up at 6 a.m. today. We'll allow you to make a switch. Sorry. If you're mad at something here, you don't get mad at your league, you don't get mad at the rules, you don't get mad at your commissioner, you get mad at the bloody NFL, who I have said all along, what are we doing here? Why are we trying to take over the world?
It's just bad luck, Ray. This happens a lot, doesn't it? It just doesn't happen with the likes of Alvin Kamara. You got to be awake when the actives and inactives come out.
But again, if you want to lay blame, it's the NFL. Why is the NFL playing games that the majority of the people in the United States aren't even awake for? What are they doing? Isn't it our league? North America's league, or is it Europe's league? So if you're mad at someone, you're mad at the NFL.
Shotgun look with Gage in motion out of the backfield. Brady takes the snap, belt high, looks over the middle. Caught ball, touchdown Tampa Bay. Touchdown Buccaneers. Mike Evans, fire the cannons.
Back to throw is Dalton looking to the end zone, and that is going to be a Saints touchdown. And that is going to be Chris Olave, his first NFL score as he leaps in London.
Rodgers looks it over. Takes the snap, swings it right side on the slant, got his man to the end zone for the touchdown. Romeo Doubs.
Rush under pressure, throws deep, skinny post, walk in, CeeDee Lamb. He got clear and he walked the dog. 30 and a touchdown.
The Playbook, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. The Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm. I'm John Pemba with Adam Ronis here, previewing some player props here for the Colts-Broncos Thursday night football game, kicking off Week 5. We're also answering your start-sit questions. If you got them, you got to join the show. You got to download the app. Go to your app store, iTunes, Google Play. Download the Bettor Sports Network app. Sign up, join the show, get in the chat, and get involved with us today. You can call in as well. Come on with Ab and I. We'll answer any questions that you guys have for us today. Adam, we left it off. You mentioned one of your favorite player props for tonight was Courtland Sutton. Over 4.5 receptions here. And yeah, I think that's pretty solid. Again, we're expecting both of these offenses to have to throw more than we're probably accustomed to them seeing, given the fact that both starting running backs are out for today. Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams. So we think they're going to have to throw more. So it definitely makes sense that Sutton could see some additional targets and passes going his way here. Let's take a look at some other props, though. What other key props are you looking at today for this game?
Looking at Alec Pierce now, this number has moved. I got it at 31.5, but it has moved. It is now up to 34.5 yards on FanDuel. We've seen him involved in the offense the last 2 weeks. Sat out week 2, week 3 for 61 on 5 targets, and last week 4 for 80 on 6 targets. And as I mentioned before, Michael Pittman probably going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain, who's been really good this year. So I think that could open things up for Pierce here. And I mean, he came close to going over this on 1 reception in week 3. He had a long of 30 yards, and last week he had a 44-yard reception. So they really don't have that solidified number 2 receiver, but it looks like Pierce is coming on a little bit. And this is a low total here. Right. And again, I think Pittman's going to have the tough matchup. So I would look at Alec Pierce's yardage total to go over.
Yeah, that's not bad. On the Sunday show that I do with Andrew Cooper, we were actually talking about Paris Campbell's yards prop last week. It was like 26.5, and he had that on his first catch of the day. I see it around the same today. Again, looking at FanDuel, I see 20.5 yards for Paris Campbell. I don't know if you got a different number or not, but that seems pretty low to me.
It is definitely low. He's been a disappointment. He's stayed healthy, but he hasn't been able to take advantage.
He's running a lot of routes, which is what kind of brought Coop on. They had him sort of jump out to his attention there. He's on the field a lot. He's running a lot of routes. He just wasn't catching anything or being targeted all that much, but only 20.5 yards. I mean, this is, again, a guy that's a big play guy for them, or could be.
I do also see it at that. He's gone over it in 2 of the 4 games. Of course, the 1 game Pittman doesn't play. Right, he has 0.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he went over it last week pretty easily as well. So I think you have to look at Nyheim Hines tonight too. Would you take his over receiving yards? Because you figure he's going to be it's 25.5, 26.5 on some books.
Yeah, I see it at a high of 27.
I see 27.5 on Caesars, BetMGM, and DraftKings. I see it as 25.5 on PointsBet, 26.5 on FanDuel.
It feels weird that it's. I think the over should be in play there, right? Just a lot of swing passes out to Hines. So I like the over on that as well. The under is minus 115 on BetMGM. So it seems like a pretty even split between which way you're going based off what Vegas thinks is going to be the favorite. But over 27.5, given we're expecting big usage for them, I think I would certainly be willing to take the over on him there for sure. What are your thoughts on Melvin Gordon tonight? Do you have any interest in his rushing prop today?
No. I might lean the under on it.
60.5. Yeah, minus 110 on FanDuel Sportsbook at 60.5.
Yeah, man. Like we said, they're good against the run. What if he has a fumble early on? Do they just ice him out and go to Boone? Man, I don't know. And like we said, the Colts have been good. Now, they got gashed by Derrick Henry last week. He had 112 yards. But the other games, they allowed Dameon Pierce 11 for 33, James Robinson 23 for 64, CEH 7 carries, no yards. So, man, I'd lean the under, but I'm not going to bet it.
Okay. I want.
How about this one? Matt Ryan to throw an interception. And I think he has one in every game this year except one. It's a half, but it's juiced up. Now, I do see it at minus 120 on BetMGM. That's the best number I see. It is minus 150 on DraftKings Sportsbook.
I mean, again, we're expecting them to have to throw a lot. Denver's defense is good at home. I don't think Denver has a lot of turnovers, though, right?
I think they only have 1 pick.
Yeah, I think they only have 1 interception. So Maybe, especially since we're expecting them to have to throw a lot more against this defense, and maybe they get to it. I saw the Broncos team sack total got bumped up. It was at 2.5. It got moved to 3. I haven't seen the latest number on that, but that's something I would have some interest in. You mentioned already Matt Ryan gets sacked a lot. Broncos team sack total could be something to target in on here.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Or if total sacks in a game.
Both sides,
between both sides, yeah. Depending on what the number is, obviously. Maybe it probably is skewed a little bit more on the Denver side. So, you could just look at those numbers and figure out which one you think is better.
What do you think about both quarterback passing yardage? Matt Ryan, I'm looking at 231. I see Russell Wilson at 235.
I feel better about Russ going over. Right?
Yeah. The BetMGM has 235.5 at -120 on the under.
He's gone over this, and I don't know, man. Two of the 4 games he's gone over. Last week, 237, and he actually had probably his best game of the year. He averaged 9.5 yards per pass attempt, but only attempted 25. But I got to think that number goes up this week. With Javonte Williams being out. In the other games, it was 42, 31, 33. So it's weird. He had like his best game and close to best completion percentage, took shots downfield, and only 25 pass attempts. I guess because the Raiders, I think, had the ball a lot too. They ran the ball very well. Looking at 74 plays for the Raiders, 48 for Denver. They only had the ball 25 minutes. So that's something I always look at because people will just look at like, oh, wow, they only passed. Well, they didn't have the ball. So that was the issue. So they could have put up way bigger numbers last week. They just didn't have the ball.
Here's maybe a same game play. I don't get to do any same game parlays because I don't live in a state that lets me bet. So maybe this is something you can do. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'm looking at Mo Alley Cox's over 1.5 receptions. FanDuel Sportsbook has it at -186 on the over. But yet Mo Alley Cox's yards is only 19.5. So if the big juice favorite is at least 2 catches, wouldn't it seem likely that he gets over 19.5 yards on at least 2 catches in this game?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's had at least 2 catches in 2 games. Week 1, 2 for 26 on 2 targets. And then last week, obviously, 6 for 85 on 2 touchdowns. And it sucks. I drafted him in the Scott Fishbowl, and I wound up cutting him because he wasn't doing anything.
Right.
I don't remember if someone picked him up because that's a tight end premium league and a very deep rosters. But, I mean, we saw Jelani Woods a couple weeks ago. We've seen Kyle Granson. I do think Mo Alley Cox is talented. That's why I drafted him.
He plays the most snaps of those tight ends.
Yeah, he does. And I think, did he run the most routes last week, I think?
That I can check in on, but it would make sense, right? Because he had such a big day there. So that's why I looked at it. Anytime I kind of see over 1.5 catches, it's such a big sort of betting favorite if you want to go for it. And then it's under 20 yards. I'm like, all right, you don't think you can get 2 catches for 20 yards here? That seems, obviously it's not always a foolproof way to bet. But just kind of looking at how we're expecting this game flow, we're expecting Matt Ryan to throw more than usual. 19.5 yards seems pretty low here.
It does. I mean, but we wouldn't be surprised if he had 1 catch for 8 yards either.
Well, like he did the 2 weeks prior. Yeah, that wouldn't be
it's like they're playing tight end roulette every damn week to figure out, okay, who are we going to feature this week?
Right. He ran 23 routes last week, had a 67% snap share in that game against Tennessee. Kylan Granson, who would have really been the only other guy to compete with him for that, only 14 routes run, 44% snap share for him. So out-snapped and route ran, I guess is the way to say it, for Mo Alley Cox. They are over Kylan Granson in that game. So both of them, though, have pretty low totals. So if you think that Matt Ryan just going to throw to anybody, Granson, 13.5 yards is his prop. 1.5 catches is his prop for the 2 totals.
Well, okay, Denver against tight ends this year, 13 most fantasy points to tight ends. They gave up 2 touchdowns to tight ends in week 1, Will Dissly and Colby Parkinson.
Yeah.
Farrell Brown in week 2, just 3 for 24. And Kittle, they held to 4 for 28 on 5 targets. And Darren Waller, 3 for 24 on 5 targets. But
all of those would go over what we need tonight there, Adam. So I would take every single
Kittle,
one of those,
Well, but those guys really didn't.
What's the Pharaoh Brown? Is he better than Mo Alley Cox? He gives us 2 for 26. We're there, you know?
But what if it's Granson and Jelani Woods?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the problem. But yeah, I mean, logically, you would say, okay, maybe they look at it and go, okay, you know what? He had a big game. It worked. Let's continue to go with it. But NFL coaches.
Yeah, they're terrible at what they tend to do. I had somebody tweet at me today about DFS about KJ Hamler. Has he popped up on your radar at all when it comes to this game?
I mean, again, when you're talking DFS on a single game slate, anyone's in play, right? Because he's going to be, no one's going to really look at him.
He's done almost nothing all season long. So
yeah, well, he had the injury. He was coming off the injury. He played week 1. He sat out, and then last week I remember one play 55 yards.
He ran 2 routes. Last week. Yeah.
He only ran 2 routes last week.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that. Well, one of them went for 55.
One of them went for 55. Yeah. So, he played a 60% snap share in week 1. Missed the week 2. Week 3, only 25%, and then last week only an 8% snap share.
Week 3, he didn't even record a reception.
No, he did not. 6 routes run, no targets. He has
he has 2
targets all year. That's why
here's the thing though, but this on a single game slate. If you put him in and he's got to be cheap and he scores a touchdown, you return value, right? Yeah. So if we're talking a whole slate, 12 games, no, sure. But single game slate. But I mean, I get why someone would ask, but if you look at all the numbers, you're like, no. And then what will happen? Someone will play him. He'll get a touchdown on a broken
55-yarder,
right? And then that's the difference in someone winning money.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not betting on him though. His receiving yard.
No, I'm not either. You can't.
18.5 yards is his receiving prop tonight.
There's no data there to suggest, this is going to work out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, can't hit that one. Jerry Jeudy, 52.5 yards for him. You like the Sutton receptions prop? What are your thoughts on Jeudy here tonight?
I would lean towards the over on him too. We kind of know that these are the 2 guys getting the football right now. So he's looked good. So I think both of these guys can be productive tonight. They're really not using the tight end at all right now. You mentioned Hamler not really running enough routes. Jeudy was quiet weeks 2 and 3, was good last week and was good in week 1. So I lean the over, but I'm not playing it. Again, I feel better about Sutton's receptions prop.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. Right now, BetMGM, a minus 165 and the under Jerry Jeudy 4.5. So that's something to take a little bit of a note of, I think, there. And we have someone in chat asking, what are your thoughts on Jeudy? I like him tonight. Again, he's not somebody you're ever sitting, in my opinion. Too much talent in that offense, and he's going to get his volume of looks there. We also have another question from Andy. With Melvin Gordon tonight or wait on DeAndre Swift this weekend? If not, A.J. Dillon or Bateman instead. We don't know the Bateman thing. You got to almost have to kind of cross him off the list because he's going to start the last of all of them.
And Swift's not playing. They basically said it.
So you're basically starting Gordon tonight or A.J. Dillon on the Sunday morning.
I think you're just probably going to have to suck it up and go with Gordon at this point. Like, I think people have kind of overrated AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
I mean, what has he done? And I have him in a league where I'm starting him, but I'm a pretty strong receiver. But he's got 1 touchdown. He's not really involved in the passing game.
I think many people thought Green Bay would get into the red zone more, and then Dillon would sort of be the hammer in scoring those rushing touchdowns, but that just hasn't been their offense so far this year. So,
he has double-digit carries in every game. He's had 10, 18, 12, 17, but week 1, 5 for 46 in the passing game, and then he's kind of been phased out since. And they run a very slow offense. People don't realize that because Aaron Rodgers put up these numbers, MVP conversation. They are a very slow-paced team. And I don't see them – they don't really blow out anyone. They beat the Bears 27-10, but if I remember correctly, that game was kind of close for a bit. So, they're better than the Giants. I'd probably just go Melvin Gordon here.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I would go Melvin Gordon, just a little bit more clarity with the role that they're going to have in that offense there tonight. Adam, we got a segment here. I've heard it. I've heard the drops, the sound on it. We're going to do a little bit of hash it out. On the playbook here, presented by Fantasy Alarm on the Bettor Sports Network. We'll be right back.
soon for sports. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis.
Alvin Kamara, about if I had to guesstimate about an hour before game time, gets ruled out, and it lights the world on fire once everybody wakes up. That had Alvin Kamara still in their lineups, you got West Coasters trying to get a redo or trying to get a sub in because it's unfair that they have to wake up so early to get him out of the lineup and make sure that everyone who's active and in the lineup should be. But isn't that fantasy football, man? Didn't we warn everyone about this?
Yeah, we had this exact conversation last week, which is why it was so funny when I saw all these people on Twitter complaining and asking for a retroactive move. Because this same situation happened the last time I think Saints were in London, and I went over the story. It involved Alvin Kamara. Same thing. My opponent had Kamara in the lineup, and in the halfway through the game, he asked the commissioner, hey, I don't even know where maybe he was California, somewhere on the West Coast. Oh, I woke up late. I didn't know he's out. Can I replace him? And the commissioner comes to me and says, hey, your opponent wants to replace Kamara. I'm cool with it if you are. I said, no, I'm not cool with it, man. This is just like anything in life. It's your responsibility. You knew that there are going to be games at 9:30 a.m. Eastern this year. I hate waking up early, but you just have to wake up early and do it.
What's stopping you from going back to bed? That's the big thing. What's stopping you from that? You get up, change your lives, go pee, go back to bed. It's one of those things that from now on, when you have anyone involved in London games that are the least bit questionable, including injuries that you see late in the week, let's say this happens, all of a sudden, minor tweak for someone, like you're still waking up that morning to make sure that player is playing. It's a few weeks a year in Rome. We're lucky that the NFL doesn't go completely worldwide and we have games in different countries every single week.
Front Yard Fantasy with Simon, JL, and Coop.
Dude, Jeff Wilson looked fantastic last night.
No,
did you see that?
Jeff Wilson had one great 32-yard touchdown.
Did you see the run? Did you see the run?
JL, the run was incredible. But I just want to look at the rest of this stat line to tell you why I'm not excited about Jeff Wilson. 18 for 74. That's why I'm not excited about Jeff Wilson. 18 for 74 with a 32-yard run. So really, that's what 74 minus 32. Without that one run, that's 17 for 32 yards. Or
4.1 a carry? You're complaining about 4.1 a carry?
Yeah.
Why? 4.1's not that bad.
It's jail. Without that touchdown, we're looking at a 17 for 42-yard game, which is whatever. You know what I mean? Okay, it's fine.
18 carries. You were turning your nose up at 18 carries.
I don't hate Jeff Wilson. And it's not that I won't start him. I think he's a perfectly fine start, but that's where the line ends. Anybody who thinks he's anything more than just a fine start is where I have a problem. He's just not exciting. He's not a player that's going to just completely blow up on a given week. He got the touchdown this week. You're thrilled. But next week when he doesn't get the touchdown, when he's 18 for 57 yards, you're going to be like, well, shoot, another classic Jeff week.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
Smothered, covered, diced. It's time for the Playbook's weekly fantasy football hash out.
Order up. Welcome back, everybody. The Playbook here. We're John Pemba with Adam Ronis on the Bettor Sports Network, presented by Fantasy Alarm. Adam, I heard the discussion about Fancy's first trip to the Waffle House there, but I haven't ever heard it directly from you. Can you give the folks here just now tuning in a little bit of a backstory so we can understand what we're doing here with the weekly Waffle House hash out?
Well, you could have potentially been there with us.
I was close. I decided to eat some very cold Buffalo Wild Wings instead.
Yeah, we were in Canton, Ohio for the Fantasy Football Expo, which was great. I recommend people going to it. It's it's in August, and I met a lot of people who have listened to me over the years on SiriusXM, and it was so much fun. We played flag football. Well, I did. John didn't. Me, Andrew Cooper.
I hung out at the snack bar. We were good.
Colby Conway. We were all playing. We had a nice little contingent there for Fantasy Alarm. But it was so much fun. So it was late at night. We were chilling at the hotel. and we're hungry, man. And, a lot of things around there close early. And our guy, Rich Miletto, was with us, and he said there was a Waffle House nearby. I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. Because I don't really go to the Waffle House. They're located mostly down south, Maryland. I'm in the New Jersey, New York area. There's nothing around here. So I haven't been there in years. As John alluded to, we saw him, and he had ordered from Grubhub, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like $30 wings. From
I spent more money than I should probably admit to, but you know what? That went on the company card. So
exactly.
So it was fine.
Yeah.
For
hopefully
some
they're not
cold
listening.
Buffalo Wild Wings, yeah.
Well, they're not going to care anyway. We got to eat. But yeah, you had some pricey cold wings. So after you went to your room, we decided, all right, let's go to the Waffle House. Now, I don't know how, but Justin Fetsterman, who lives in Maryland, right? And I know there's a bunch of Waffle Houses over there. Never been there. So anyone who has been there knows it's the Waffle House, right? So probably breakfast, waffles, eggs, bacon. Of course they have other things, but IHOP, International House of Pancakes. I don't know about you, but whenever I go there, I only eat breakfast. I've never had a burger there, nothing else, right? I mean, they're known for pancakes. That's what I'm going to eat, or an omelet, correct?
Yeah, I've only ever gotten pancakes from there. They have like the 6 syrups on the table. Like, why would you order anything else?
So have you ever been to a Waffle House?
I haven't, but I live in Massachusetts. There's no Waffle Houses around me. So
okay. So again, we go there. Rich orders eggs, bacon, hash browns, waffle. I get the same thing. So now it is midnight, but how do you feel about eating breakfast at night?
Love it. Absolutely. Okay. I'm a breakfast all day kind of guy. So.
And let me say this. John is a weird guy when it comes to he doesn't use any condiments. Right. Nothing. We had this discussion. We were out at Outback Steakhouse and he's nothing. So he has his oddities. I think Fensty is a little bit more weird than you in certain aspects. So I'm no filter here. I say it straight to your face. But so we go there and Fensty, never been there, orders at the Waffle House a steak wrap. A steak wrap. Like, come on, man. You're at the Waffle House. So we were joking about it, and everyone else was like, yeah, that's weird. He's like, what? It was really good. I enjoyed it. It's like, that's not the point, man. Right. You don't order a steak wrap from the Waffle House. He's like, well, I can't eat breakfast at night, this and that. Yeah. So we got him on for that. Like and then he's like, well, how am I supposed to know that they specialize in waffles? I'm like, and I think he realized that he messed up. I'm like, it's in the name. Waffle House. What do you think they specialize in? So he felt like, oh, well, I enjoyed it. It's not a big deal. I thought it was very, very strange to not order breakfast, at least. I mean, you don't like waffles? Okay, fine. But I'm pretty sure not many people are ordering the steak wrap at a Waffle House. So we got on him for that. And then it became a big soundbite. And then he decided to do this fantasy football Waffle House regarding their hash browns, because you can have them in a variety of ways. So that's where this originated from.
All right. So we have the Waffle House hash out here. We got the scattered hash browns, I guess is how we're going about this. So I got to ask you then, Adam. Tell me a little bit here. What offense do you think is going to be spreading the football around, making it difficult to determine which wide receivers to really key in on each week?
It's easy to go with the same teams every week, so I won't. The Chiefs and Packers have been answers before, but I'm going to go with the Jets. We've seen Zach Wilson come in last week, and we like what we've seen from Garrett Wilson. He's looked good. We know Elijah Moore was drafted pretty early.
Right.
They have Corey Davis.
Led their team last week. Corey Davis did so.
Yeah, and look, it was spread out last week. Corey Davis 6 targets. Elijah Moore 4. Tyler Conklin 5, Garrett Wilson 6, Breece Hall 6, Michael Carter 3. So it's a little difficult right now trying to figure out what to do here with these Jets receivers. I think a lot of people felt confident in Garrett Wilson, and then last week only 2 for 41. Yeah. So I think I think they're one of those teams right now where I think we all want Corey Davis out, most of us, unless you got him cheap and you're playing. But I think most people are like, all right, Corey Davis is the older guy. Get him out. We want to see a more Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. And I think Tyler Conklin has been a little bit of a surprise. We did talk about it last week. We had Andrew Cooper on, and we were on the same page with Conklin. Like, be careful, because the Jets going into last week were passing at a rate of 72%. and you knew that would not last. Part of it was Flacco was passing a ton, and they were playing from behind. They played from behind against Baltimore, played from behind against Cleveland, where they came back and won, and they played from behind in week 3. I forgot who they played in week 3 now. The Bengals. They were trailing in that game. And then last week was a competitive game, kind of back and forth, and they didn't pass as much. Zach Wilson dropped back to pass 36 times, did catch a touchdown for Braxton Berrios, but they ran the ball 29 times. So it was more balanced, and I think that was probably because Wilson was in there and part of the game. We'll see what happens this week. They are at home against Miami, 3.5-point underdogs. But I think the Jets are one of those offenses right now where they are spreading the ball around, and we're still trying to figure things out. I don't know if you agree on that. Or
No, for sure. Yeah, the one thing we talk a lot about with Corey Davis is they like to keep him out there because he's a trusted run blocker. So when they get him out on those sets, like they kind of leave him out there when they go to the 2 wide receiver formations, and then it's either Wilson or Moore that are leaving the field. And they paid Davis a lot of money a couple years ago to be their guy. They obviously then drafted some younger, better talent there, but they're still going to try to get their money's worth out of him. And Corey Davis isn't a bad receiver. Last season, before he got hurt, he was actually being fairly productive. The one that I would kind of throw into this conversation is Pittsburgh. I'm sure maybe that's something that you guys have discussed before, but Deontay Johnson, we know the target's going to be there for him, but Pickens lately stepping up, Chase Claypool, Pat Freiermuth now getting more involved in this offense. We know that Najee Harris as well. So Pittsburgh is a team to me that I feel like can get into the scattered category when it comes to where these looks. And now that they have a new quarterback, we're going to have to figure out who his favorites are.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think we're starting to see the emergence of George Pickens. He had the 8 targets last week. We know how good he is. We all saw that catch 2 weeks ago. I mean, that was an amazing catch.
Yeah.
Well, we had this discussion. What was better, Pickens catch or Odell Beckham?
OBJ still.
I disagree. I think it was Pickens.
Okay.
That
OBJ, yeah. I mean, he scored. Like it was just.
Well, okay. I get it was a touchdown, but did you see the angle that Pickens was at?
Yeah, I saw the highlight. Maybe I'm just got a little nostalgia factor to it. Like that. That OBJ catch was like the catch for forever.
A long time, yeah.
Yeah,
I think they were both difficult. Where Pickens was, how he was horizontal to the ground, grabbing it with one hand, trying to find the football. I just thought it was amazing. But regardless, they're both great catches. Yeah, but Pickens 8 targets last week, 6 for 102. Pat Freiermuth had 9. Deontay Johnson only 4. I don't think we expect that to continue. But it looks like to me Chase Claypool is going to be hurt here. I know it's one game, but just 2 targets, no receptions. So it'll be interesting this week. They're playing at Buffalo. They're 14-point underdogs, the largest spread for the Steelers. The thing with Buffalo is usually when they win, they blow teams out. Now, they didn't last week because they played on the road in Baltimore weather, and they had to come from a 23 deficit. But the one thing I've seen with Buffalo over the last couple of years, when they win, they usually blow teams out. But 14 points, man. Because I do think
this is like the first time the Steelers have ever been 2 touchdown like underdogs or something like that.
Yeah,
which is pretty
I think
wild.
it's the largest line that they've ever been an underdog here. So, Pickett did throw 3 picks. Well, one was a Hail Mary at the end of the game, and I think one was his fault, I'd say. But I think he gives them a better shot than Trubisky, and there are weapons on this team.
Some of those interceptions weren't really his fault. And the one that a lot of people talking about, Chase Claypool losing a football to a 5'8" cornerback, basically allowing it to bounce off of his body and then kind of just falls into the hands of the defender there. So, and Pickett still ran for 2 scores. So, like the mobility factor definitely impacts there a little bit. Next question for you. Who is the one DFS player or team that you see is going to be garnering the most attention or money moving forward?
Well, I mean, who do you think in DFS? For DFS, I'll leave to you. Betting, man, and I got to figure this one out. I think the Eagles, for some reason, though, why does this look too easy to me, man? Like the Eagles are 5-point favorites against the Cardinals. I know it's on the road. The Eagles have just destroyed everyone.
There was a tweet out yesterday that the Eagles haven't let a quarterback come within 20 yards of their passing prop or something like that this year.
Yeah. I mean, they have been good on both sides of the ball, and we know Arizona has been awful. They do have 2 wins, but come on, man. They're miraculous wins. The comeback against the Raiders. And last week, are we going to be impressed that you beat the Panthers and Baker Mayfield?
And they needed to come back in that game too, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I was on them in that game. So I was like, you guys better come back. So I don't know, man. -5 just seems too easy, but I think everyone's going to flock to the Eagles, and I understand why. Like, how can you back this Cardinals team that did get Rondale Moore back, didn't really make much of an impact in the game?
Yeah, he played. They didn't use him, though. I think 60% snap share for him.
So I think, and I haven't seen any money line handles, but I think a lot's going to go, even -5. I think a lot's going to the Eagles this week. I mean,
yeah,
I have to figure this out, like if it's a trap or not, because to me it seems too obvious. And maybe the Eagles are going to have a bad game at some point. They kind of started slowly last week. Were they down 14-0, right?
Yeah, they were down 14. Yeah, because they had the pick 6 right away, and then they gave up a score. But then after that.
They dominated after.
Yeah, they didn't allow another
the
point until like the fourth quarter. They had 2
I mean, maybe it could be a game like maybe like week 1 where they have the lead against Detroit and a backdoor covered by Arizona. Because Arizona, if you've watched them, they start horribly and they play better in the second half. So
I have Kyler Murray as my quarterback in a lot of teams, and for about 3 quarters I'm swearing, and then he finishes with over 20. I'm like, all right. Like, you know.
Yeah, I have him in my home league in some best balls, and I was starting to think like, do I have to deviate away from this guy? But yeah, I think a lot of money is going to be on Philly this week.
Yeah, I like that one. I still think Dallas may get a lot of money this week too. People are,
but we talked about this briefly. But that line's moving the other way.
I know. But Dallas is getting points. I think people are going to be betting Dallas to get the points, right? Because they're going to look at the Rams like you just said. They're going to see Dallas is 3-1. The Rams just got obliterated on national television. People aren't going to understand why Dallas is now getting 6 points or 5.5 points by the time this line finishes. And people are going to start betting Dallas getting the points there, I think, this weekend. So I think you're right, though. I think Philly and I think Dallas is going to get mine. Plus, people like betting on the Cowboys, right? It's like the Yankees. You know, they're just, you're a Mets fan, but, you know what it's like. Those popular teams, people just sort of bet on those guys. So, the Yankees, the Cowboys, they're all sort of the same.
We've seen the Rams get smashed on national TV twice this year. The opening week against the Bills and then last week. So
they haven't been impressive. Their win was against they barely beat the Falcons, right? Like, what are we?
Well, to be fair, that game they were in control and the Falcons scored a lot of points late to backdoor cover, but they weren't impressive against the Cardinals.
Right.
Because I think the Rams game, they were up 28-10 after 3 quarters, and the Falcons scored 17 in the 4th. So the Falcons scored, 2 touchdowns late and a safety to make that game
Drake
closer.
London had a good second half in that game.
Yeah, so they can kind of control the game, but they weren't impressive against the Cardinals. I know it's a divisional game and it's on the road, but that was a game because I kind of was on Arizona that game because I was fading the Rams.
Yeah.
In that game, Arizona ran 81 plays to 46 for the Rams.
That's crazy. That's a lot of plays.
Yeah, that's how bad Arizona is. They couldn't win.
Yeah. For DFS, I think a lot of the money is either going to be on Tampa Bay home against the Falcons. There, 47 game total in that one. One of the higher game totals on the board. I also sneaky like the Chargers. I know they're on the road, and the Chargers are the Chargers, but I do like that offense. A 47.5 game total in that one as well, a 2.5 point spread. And if you're playing DFS, you kind of always want to bring a guy back in your stacks, and like Nick Chubb is going to run all over the Chargers this week. So you have Nick Chubb coming back on one side. You have Herbert and Eckler or Williams or Everett, whoever, assuming Keenan Allen doesn't play, on the other side. And you just sort of stack this Browns-Chargers game. I think that could be a pretty popular DFS way to go if we're looking to figure out where the majority of the money is. Of course, we'll have the full playbook out. You can always check out our draft percentage forecasts. They're over at Fantasy Alarm as well, part of the All-Pro package for us there. Next question I got for you, Adam, here. Who's the one team that will cover the spread or player hit their value in week 5?
Yeah, I usually have strong conviction on these. I'm kind of going through these lines and trying to figure things out, but I like Miami. I know they're on the road against the Jets, but I still don't think the Jets are that good. I think Teddy Bridgewater has been money against the spread in his career. I thought he came in and did pretty well.
Yeah.
he's got the weapons here. I mean, look, the Jets, they beat the Steelers last week. I mean, I don't think the Steelers are that good. They had the great comeback against the Browns, but I just think the Dolphins are a better team. So I feel good about the Dolphins, even though they're on the road.
Am I crazy for wanting Washington here against Tennessee?
I'm with you, man. I like Washington in this game too. I've been down on Tennessee this entire year. I'm a little surprised they're 2-2. I give credit to Vrabel on that.
Yeah.
I did say the one concern I had about the Titans and taking their under on wins was Vrabel's a great coach, never had a losing season, and that division is so bad.
Right.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think they've had some tough matchups, but is Tennessee going to be able to apply pressure on them?
Well, that's what I'm looking at. You look at Carson Wentz's success this season early on. Yes, one of them was against Jacksonville, who we now think is a pretty good defense. The other one was against Detroit. We know they have a bad defense. We know the Titans aren't stopping anybody defensively on their end. Derrick Henry's finally getting going, and maybe that keeps Tennessee in this game a little bit. But I think Washington's offense is going to be having no real issues here against the Titans. Plus, they're getting Brian Robinson back potentially this week. I was seeing some reports earlier today that he broke off a pretty big run during practice. He's looking good. He's looking explosive. If they do end up activating him for this game, like that just adds another element to their offense here. So the fact that, at least from what I'm looking at, Washington is a home dog by 1.5. I'll take the 1.5 here in Washington. I think they win this game outright.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was one I was looking at too. I'm like, I'm going to take Tennessee as a road favorite. And again, I think this is just also people looking at the last few games for Washington, but look at the matchups they had. The Cowboys and the Eagles, who can put a lot of pressure on you and have good defensive lines. I don't see that from the Titans, who've had some injuries along the defensive line this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I guess the one thing there, Jahan Dotson may not play this week. He's been playing a ton of snaps for Washington. But Logan Thomas has seen his snap count steadily rise of late. Curtis Samuel, we know, has been really great. And Terry McLaurin, I think this is the breakout week for him. I know he had 100 yards the other week as well. But if we're looking for a big McLaurin day, Dotson's been getting those red zone looks at times. We could see Terry show up here. So,
the one thing to keep an eye on is Curtis Samuel dealing with an illness. He didn't practice again. But if he's back tomorrow, I don't think he'll probably play.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Again, we want you guys to be part of our community here. If you like the show, if you like live commercial-free content here at the Bettor Sports Network, the only way to be involved is to download the app in the App Store, iTunes, Google Play. Subscribe, sign up, hit join show. You can ask your questions in our chat. You can call in and join Adam and I live on screen here and get your questions, whether it's player props, bettings, fantasy advice. We'll give it to you here. And when we get back, we're going to talk more about this fantasy football weekly hash out. I'll give some more of our favorite plays, some more of our favorite bets. This is the playbook powered by Fantasy Alarm on the Bettor Sports Network.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
The only person, I've said this to you before, who I believe back then, of all those power hitters who truly was clean, Ken Griffey Jr.
I mean, I think so when he got
Body didn't change.
We'll never know that for sure either.
No, dude.
We've seen guys who were not big take substances.
That's true.
I just get busted. So it's not about that always.
I hear you. It's just, don't you think with the way his career kind of went, you would think that he didn't take anything?
I don't think he did, but we'll never know 100%.
I'm going to keep telling myself that he didn't. The 1 year player, I mean, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. In the 1990s, Ron, as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid who plays video games and collected cards, there was no one cooler than Ken Griffey Jr. I still wear my hat backwards because Ken Griffey Jr. did it and he looked really cool doing that, wearing a backwards baseball cap. Like, he made everything the guy did looked cool. Even the home run in the movie Little Big League, it's acting, it's all, I guess, fake, but even he made that look cool. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., you're a little bit older than me, but in the 90s, was there besides Michael Jordan, was there a more loved athlete than Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, no, I love Griffey. He's one of my favorite players ever, from defensively to hitting his swing. And yeah, I would have loved to see what he could have done if he had stayed healthy, the final numbers he finished with. So no, I was a huge fan of Ken Griffey, and it's a shame though that all those injuries towards the end of his career just really limited the production he put up, but he still put up elite numbers. He was so fun to watch. So I'm a huge Ken Griffey guy.
And here's the other thing too. So 1994, the season got shortened because of the strike.
And he finished with 40 homers in 111 games that year, man. And then he had 56 2 years in a row, 97 and 98, and then 48. He had a stretch 4 years in a row, 49, 56, 56, 48, 40. I mean, unbelievable. And then, yeah, once he hit like 31, he started to miss games, 111, 70, 53, 83. So think about that, all those years that he lost, and he still hit 630 home runs, man.
Yeah.
So if he was clean, he would have been the all-time home run champion. Again, we're all guessing here, but you would think, all right, well, once he got into age 31, 32, that's when the body started breaking out, which is typical, right, for someone who's not using anything, whereas we saw Barry Bonds just get better with age, and we did not see that with Griffey. So look at 2001, where he's 31, he played on, look at the home runs decline, 8, 13, 20, 35, 27, 30, 18, 15 to his age 38 season. Even age 39 in 170 games, he had 19 home runs. So he probably would have definitely been the all-time home run leader had he been able to stay healthy.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
Powered by Fantasy Alarm on the Better Sports Network.
Betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more. Join our community on Better Sports Network.
There we go. John Pember here with Adam Rohn. This is the playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm on the Better Sports Network. Back breaking down some of the top stories there for week 5, some of our top plays, some of our top bets here as well. Going to answer your questions if you got them. Got to join the show to do so. You got to download the app in your app store, iTunes, Google Play. Subscribe, join show, ask your questions. Adam and I will help you set your lineups for tonight. You can also, after the show, check out the live stream or at Fantasy Alarm, getting your start sit questions answered over there as well. All part of everything that we got going on at Fantasy Alarm, getting you ready for week 5 action there. So Adam, let's keep it going here. Let's keep talking about what we have going on here. When it comes to a team or player that we're ready to double down on, how are you feeling here? What are we looking at?
Well, I think a great team this week that's in a prime spot is the Tampa Bay Bucks, man. They're home. They're coming off 2 straight losses, but look at who they've played. That's been the biggest issue for them is they've kind of played some good teams. They beat the Cowboys week 1, 19-3, beat the Saints 20-10. Then they lost to the Packers 14-12. And this past week, they did play the Chiefs and give up 41, but they put up 31, and they're getting their guys back. Mike Evans had the suspension, missed week 3. Chris Godwin was back. Julio Jones was back. So you start to see them put that offense together. And, Atlanta is 4-0 against the spread, but this team is just not that good. So I think this is a prime bounce back spot where I think you see the Buccaneers offense put up a lot of points. Mike Evans are going to go off this week. So I just think this Bucs offense is set to put up some points. And, I guess it's been a slow start for the season for them. And they're 0-2 at home. And it's rare that you see Brady lose back-to-back games ever.
Yeah, he's never lost at home last year either. He was dominating home starts. So, I agree with you again. I don't think Atlanta is going to hold much water in this matchup against Tampa Bay. For me, it's an obvious one. They're home favorites here. But after losing last week, Jacksonville gets back on here and get on track against the Texans. Texans are 0-3-1 on the year. Jacksonville's 2-2, but we saw them go through, get that big win on the road against the Chargers. They beat the Colts. I think they come through here now and get back on the winning ways here against Houston.
Yeah, I do too. I was looking at them for Survivor. I didn't put them in the article, but I have no problem if someone wants to roll with them. One concern is we're not used to seeing Jacksonville as a big favorite like this. It's also a divisional game. Houston has been somewhat competitive, but yeah, I do think Jacksonville is better. I'm not surprised they lost to Philly last week, but I do think they're much improved and they're a legit team. I talked about it before the year that I felt like they could win that division. I think they were plus 800 going into the year. And just because it was a bad division where, again, I was very down on Tennessee, didn't like Houston, did think the Colts would be better than this, but that's what you're looking for in a division. Okay, there's one team that looks like they're the favorite. Okay, what if they falter? What if they have injuries? That opened the door for Jacksonville. And now I think most people, if you ask them who's going to win that division, I think I'd say 75 to 80% would say Jacksonville.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The way things have been trending there, nobody looks like they're ready to take it over for sure. What are your thoughts on the Bengals-Ravens game? Right, that's a game there where it's a 3-point spread, 47 total. Both teams are 2-2 here. There's no clear winner yet, obviously, in this division. It's going to be one of these two teams, though.
Probably. Well, don't count on Cleveland if they can stay afloat. Deshaun Watson comes back.
I guess it's possible if they hang in there long enough.
Yeah. I lean the Ravens. The Ravens could be 4-0, right? That blown fourth quarter against Miami, and even last week they were up 20-3, and they let it slip away. Now, last week I'll say they didn't do anything offensively the second half, so that's on them. They shouldn't have lost the Miami game. They are starting to get some guys back on the defensive side of the football, and the Bengals destroyed the Ravens last year, and I think that is well on their minds. In a divisional game, we know these teams over the years don't like each other. The Bengals got the win they needed last week. I didn't think they were that impressive against Miami. Oh, that game. Taylor, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
You can't run the football. You're giving it to Mixon every time. You drop back to pass, you're getting 8-9 yards a clip. And all they're doing is running the football with Mixon. If they're going to continue to do that, they're going to lose games.
Yeah.
You got to go with your strengths here. I know people love Joe Mixon and everything. Whether it's him or the offensive line, they were not picking up any yard. They averaged Mixon at 24 for 61. They ran the ball 30 times in that game for 67 yards. Meanwhile, Burrow completed 20 passes for 287 yards. And he even said it. That was the cleanest pocket he's ever had in his NFL career. He was sacked one time. Mm-hmm. You saw Higgins tear them up. Chase could have had a bigger game. Come on, man. So if the Bengals are going to play stupid like that, especially against this Ravens team, I'm going to take the Ravens.
Yeah, I tweeted out a stat earlier this week. In terms of carries inside the 5-yard line this year, Joe Mixon is second with 7, but he's the only running back that ranks among the top 7 running backs in carries inside the 5-yard line without a touchdown. He is 0 for 7 on carry attempts from inside the 5-yard line so far this year. Jamal Williams leads the league in touchdowns scored.
You know how many yards per carry Joe Mixon is averaging this year?
It's 2.7 probably.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I didn't even realize it was that low. I mean, I should have known from watching the games, but come on, man. And Burrow's only averaging 7 yards per pass, but you saw last week it was higher. They need to go with their strengths, man.
Yeah.
Stop trying to run the football if it's not, especially, look, if you want to try and do it early in the game, okay, fine. But when you see it's not working, go to your playmakers. You have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, 2 of the top receivers in the NFL. Tyler Boyd, who's solid. Hurst has been good. What are you doing? You're going to lose football games that way.
Yep. Listen, last year they liked to establish the run a lot. I thought it was super frustrating, but it worked for them. This year, they're obviously not being able to run the football at all. Maybe throw to set up the run, right? Spread the defenses out, get them in those nickel packages, and then run draw plays to Mixon. The only reason Mixon hasn't been a complete bust for fantasy managers is they're throwing to him. He's on pace for 70 catches this year, which is almost double what his career high is. He's on pace for over 100 targets this year as well. So, I mean...
Well, it's that and the underperformance of a lot of running backs. So he's getting volume, which is going to give you statistics, and like you said, involving the passing game. But it's not like he's been that impressive. He's got one touchdown on the season, man. It's just and they keep feeding him the football. So if you want to win games, they're going to have to change their approach. Now, you want to tell me, the first couple weeks Burrow was under siege? Okay, it was Pittsburgh with T.J. Watt and Dallas. Like he said last week, clean pocket, 1 sack. He's got that time to throw, and you got those receivers. So I'm worried about, them not maybe going with the correct game plan. But I mean, that game is a toss-up. I mean, I'm looking forward to that game Sunday night. That's a good primetime game. And it's a big game. Both teams are 2-2. I know it's early in the year, but you don't want to fold a 2-3 and lose to a division rival.
Do you think Seattle can actually pull off another win here against the Saints if it's Andy Dalton? They're getting 5.5 this week.
I don't think so. The one concern I have is the Saints coming back from London. Now, we haven't seen many teams do it. I think it's been like 4 or 5. I know Miami did it, I think, last year.
They used to give these teams buys.
They give them the choice. I think both teams elected to not take the bye. I mean, I get it. It's early in the season. I wouldn't want my bye in week 5 either. I think, but I was actually impressed with the Saints last week. They hung in the game against Minnesota when everyone was burying them, and they were competitive. I mean, and if they missed a field goal late, the game could have went to overtime. So maybe I'm not giving Seattle enough credit, but Seattle also, they beat Detroit, right? Yeah. And we know how bad their defense is. They lost to the Falcons at home. And the Denver one was like week 1 emotional. They got destroyed by the 49ers. Now, I know Saints are not as good as the 49ers, but I think the Saints are not bad defensively. Now, I'd probably take Seattle with the points, but I think the Saints are going to win this game.
Yeah, I think just the way Seattle's been playing, DK Metcalf last week obviously had a big game. Tyler Lockett has really been strong now for 3 straight weeks, and we got that breakout Rashad Penny game. Now, again, 93 points were scored in that game between the Lions and Seahawks, so a lot of offense has been inflated there. But Geno Smith, 4 weeks now, over 70+% completion percentage. So that's not really been the fluke part of what their offense has been doing.
Well, I picked him up in a league this week because I had Dak and Mariota, and I can't do Mariota anymore. So, Of course, this will be the week that he has his worst week since I picked him up. But, yeah, I mean, he's played great, but I do think the Saints are a tougher test here defensively. Again, they're not dominant, but I think they're pretty good. So it's a tougher test this week. That's a tough environment to play in that dome. But, yeah, Geno's been rolling. So I hope he does have a good week because I'm putting him in my lineup this week as the starting quarterback.
I was going to say, so I'm guessing you don't think that they're an offense that would get capped this week by a good defense then. Do you have a team that offense that you're a little bit worried about this week that generally we're okay playing, but their matchup a little bit bothersome for you? Is it Arizona? Is Arizona the team there?
I mean, do we ever feel confident in their offense?
Probably not.
It's been tough to watch. I mean, look, if I have Murray, I'm playing him. I'm playing Hollywood Brown. I'm playing Ertz, playing Connor. So kind of playing the usual suspects there. But again, that line seems a little, I mean, I guess Arizona's home, so the 3 points. The total's 49.
Right.
So
that's what confuses me. There's such a high total when Philly's defense has been so good this year. And they only allowed points really to the Lions, who apparently can score on everybody. So, who knows? But they've shut down better offenses since. And now they're going on the road, which is maybe the only reason they're
probably. I kind of have a feeling this game's going to be closer than we think, man.
It makes it for a great DFS stack if you're going there because you're going to want to play Hurts. You're going to play Devonta or A.J. Brown, and you're going to bring it back with a Zach Ertz revenge game or a Hollywood Brown, even though Darius Slay is likely going to be on him. But I mean, you're gonna want to get some action on both sides of this one. Last week, again, unlikely scenario again, but everybody that won every tournament last week just game stacked Seattle, Detroit. It was the dreamer's dream there coming through. So maybe the Cardinals in a tough spot there, but I don't really see many other teams where I'm looking at their offense and I'm like, you know what, not this week because of who they're playing. You would think maybe the Rams defense against a Dallas.
But you're only playing one guy on the Rams right now, right? Well, two. Higbee and Kupp.
And Kupp, yeah. But
you're not playing their running back.
Regardless,
you can't play Stafford right now.
Right.
I think I have him at 15th or 16th at quarterback. I probably should put him lower because he's ranked 28th at quarterback, man. 28th. Like, how can you play that guy?
No touchdowns in 2 weeks for him. So,
and do I put Geno and Bridgewater over him? Probably, right?
Yeah, Tyreek Hill apparently landed on the injury report today too, but doesn't seem anything overly serious. Waddle returning to practice. Again, the one thing we talk about with Bridgewater is it was just 2 years ago we supported 2,000-yard receivers and Anderson and DJ Moore. So he's not incapable of allowing receivers to be productive. He doesn't throw deep downfield, but Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they don't need a deep – I mean, they can utilize their speed on deep plays, but they're really good on these, slant plays where then they use their speed. So, Bridgewater can throw the 8-yard slant and Tyreek Hill can take it 60 yards. That's perfectly within the range of outcomes there. So, Dolphins against Jets are going to be super popular. a 46 over-under in that game. Miami's defense, if you look in terms of fantasy, hasn't rigged out that well, but I still feel like they're a good defense. Do you have any interest in Breece Hall this week?
For what, DFS?
In general, DFS, seasonal. Like, what?
I think seasonal. Yeah, seasonal. I'm playing him, man. He's just been too good, and they're getting him involved more. He's been involved in the passing game. We know the targets went down with no Flacco there, but he still had 6 targets last week. So yeah, I have Breece Hall in top 25 this week at running back, so I feel pretty good about him.
Yeah, again, he was a guy that I was all in last week in that matchup against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a team that you can just run against. I think Devin Singletary could be a little bit of a sleeper play this week. He's been getting all of that passing down work, which has been great for his fantasy value. But I think I think Buffalo's going to be ahead so much this week. They're already 14-point favorites that you're actually going to see him maybe get 15 to 18 carries because they're just running out the clock at the end of this game here. And Pittsburgh hasn't stopped anybody on the ground in like 2 years. So, I think that one could be a good play. And if we're talking about teams or players that could score the most points this week here, I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think Buffalo is probably going to be your top scoring offense of the week.
Yeah, you took the layup.
You know what? I had to fill in for Fency somehow, right?
That's true. He does that a lot. So
yeah.
Good job.
You're welcome. Where are you going for top scoring team for the week?
I think I'm going to go Tampa.
Okay. What just their matchup against Atlanta?
Yeah. This is a great spot for them to. They got everyone healthy now. We started to see their offense come through in the second half last week against Kansas City. They put up 31. So, you could go with the Chiefs at home against Vegas, but the Bills. But I just think Tampa. And I haven't been high on Tampa, but I just think this is a spot where they kind of go off, and then Brady has the divorce angle as well, so he'll thrive on that.
Just refocusing. I agree with you. We got a question here from Philly Mac in chat. Who to start? Need 2. It's Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Pierce, Damien Harris.
Look, I do like both New England running backs this week, but I gotta play Pierce, man. He's been getting all the carries now. Burkhead we saw a little bit late because they were getting blown out, but I got to go with Pierce and I guess Harris, right? Yeah. I think both those backs are going to perform well this week in this matchup, but I think you go Harris and Pierce.
There's a second part to this question, which I should have continued to read. He's thinking about starting both New England running backs for Pierce, but he can also flex Sutton, Pickens, Juju, or Lazard. So I guess I'm not really sure. So you're either going which 2 running backs, I guess, of Stevenson, Pierce, and Harris, and then a flex of Sutton, Pickens, Juju, Lazard, and then the running back we're not choosing of that group, I guess is how we go. We don't want to flex Sutton, though, because we don't want to lock him into the flex, so you'd move him into your wide receiver spot.
Right, yeah.
Lazard against the Giants after his breakout last week, I kind of have some interest in. What are your thoughts on Alan Lazard here?
I still play Sutton over him.
Okay.
I do like Lazard, but how do you sit Sutton, man? He's getting big time targets every single week.
I agree. It's just whether or not you think that the fact we have a low game total here, that the Colts do have a good secondary, potentially closing.
But they're better against the run, though.
Yeah. That's fair.
I gotta play Sutton, man.
All right, so we're gonna go Philly. We're gonna go Sutton, but you got to move him out of your flex. You got to
put Lamb in the flex.
Yeah, Lamb. Right, put Lamb in because he mispracticed. Though, do you think he's gonna be fine there? So that's
right.
And
the reason for that is, like John said, just in case. Lamb said he's gonna play, but what happens if he has a setback? If you put him in the wide receiver spot and you put Sutton in a flex, you hurt yourself. Right. So you want to have the most flexibility because a lot of things could happen last minute. Just look at Alvin Kamara last week, right? That's a Sunday morning game. What if you had him in the flex and he got stuck in your lineup?
Right.
Now you might have been forced to play a crappy running back instead of a good wide receiver because you left Kamara in the flex. Very, very important, man. Anything in life, the minor details matter, and a lot of people don't look at it enough. And I say it every year, every week, and people are like, oh, that's so obvious. And then there's always someone who messes up. And he's from Philly, so Philly Mac is vulnerable to messing up. Just kidding, man. Just kidding.
Taking jabs at the users here already. Jordan the show asking us questions for advice, and then you go ahead and you throw a jab.
Nah, it's all love with Philly Mac. He's already gonna welcome me warmly to Philadelphia when the Cowboys play. He already told me he's gonna give me tickets, right? Philly Mac for Cowboys and Eagles. I'll be there.
You're gonna go watch the Cowboys lose in Philly. That seems like a tough time for you.
Oh, now he sold his tickets. Wow, you promised me Philly Mac, and then you're gonna do that? Wow, stabbed in the heart, man. Jeez,
that's harsh. Adam,
all right, how about this, Philly Mac? If somehow we get a Phillies Mets NLCS, which is possible, you're paying for the Philadelphia Phillies home game, and I'll be there. That's the deal.
Are you going to bring him to the Mets side of games, or what's the?
Nah.
Okay.
No Philly fans at Citi Field. No.
Okay, got it. So you're just gonna take.
Yeah, I'm gonna invade a territory. It's not that far for me either. I can get there probably in an hour.
That's fine. And when we get back, we're gonna take a look at your weekly rankings. We're gonna see if anybody that are moving up, moving down, guys you're high on for this week as well. We're gonna continue to update any news that comes through and answer your questions if you guys have them, especially pertaining to tonight's Thursday night football game between the Colts and the Broncos. To do so, you got to go to your app store, iTunes, Google Play, download the Bettor Sports app, sign up, click join show, get involved, ask your question just like Philly Mac just did there as well. You can also call into the show, join Adam and I live on the screen there and get your questions answered. Also, this is the Playbook on Fantasy Alarm by the Bettor Sports Network. We will be right back.
Stay tuned for sports. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network.
Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing shot to short. Ramirez has it, throws. Burley picks a perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right up, 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the imposing pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson to carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the Bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the bank, and you're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downing, swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Bettor Sports Network.
Hot route! Red 7, red 7, red 7! Don!
What?
Red 7!
I don't know what red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route?
Hot Routes are hot takes for the upcoming week of the NFL season from Fensty and Ronis.
That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
Let's get back to the playbook on the Bettor Sports Network.
Welcome back, everybody. The playbook here, presented by Fantasy Alarm. John and Pemba with Adam Ronis. And again, it's a hot route time here, Adam. Again, taking a look at some of your hot takes for the week, your player rankings as well. Maybe some guys that you're higher on, lower on as we move them on up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, this is a weekly game. A lot depends on matchups. So you can check out the rankings at fantasyalarm.com. Just go to the NFL tab and click on weekly rankings. And they are updated consistently. They go up Tuesday nights. And then as news filters in, I'll make changes. Made a change earlier today. Put Lindsey in the rankings. He's not very high, so Don't worry about playing him. But it looks like we're set for tonight's games as far as those players. And then obviously as news comes in, put players in, put players out. Like, for example, right now, I do believe that I have Amon-Ra St. Brown in, but he did not practice today. Right. So I'll have to wait and might have to remove him. And then obviously that affects Josh Reynolds, DJ Chark. So remember, just be patient. You always want to make the most informed decision with the most information at hand. And as we went over some of the questions earlier in the chat, there's some where we're just not sure right now. We don't know if David Montgomery is going to return. That affects Khalil Herbert. I have Herbert in there now, not Montgomery. So, I make a lot of changes on Friday after all the practice reports come out. More changes on Saturday as we find out more information. And, of course, Sunday morning as well. So just make sure you come back and refresh, especially before kickoff on Sunday for the latest updates. Don't look at them on Thursday or Friday and be like, oh, that's where you had them. They're going to change.
Yep, for sure. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at a couple quarterbacks here. Let me know if you're higher or lower on them going into this week. Trevor Lawrence, no secret for me. I'm pretty high on him. I have him as the cover of my quarterback coach for DFS this week in his home matchup against Houston. How are you feeling about Lawrence, and where does he not without giving it away, in terms of relative rankings here, are we higher or lower on Lawrence this week?
Higher on him. I mean, I know the only concern is obviously the Texans are abysmal against the run, but we've seen two quarterbacks pass for at least 340 yards in them. And this is where you have to be very careful with the overall numbers because they don't rank high. They went against Justin Fields, who threw 106 passing yards against them. So that's going to bring down those numbers.
That might be a season high for him, though, so.
Well, last week he went over his total because the books put it so low.
It's also very low this week, by the way. I think it was 152. Would you take the over on Justin Fields?
Wow. Against Minnesota. Damn, that is so low. And they got to be playing from behind. I'd probably go over. Minnesota's not good defensively.
No, they're not great.
I probably wouldn't bet it, though, because you're going to be sitting there and It's just so low, man. It's absolutely absurd that we're seeing numbers that low for a quarterback, man.
Yeah, I agree, especially for one that has downfield guys. Like, it won't take many throws for him to get 150 yards if he's hitting Darnell Mooney for 20 yards at a clip. So, I had to go quickly check to see how low it was again. I see it 156 some places, so bumped up a little bit more, but still lower than 160 for a quarterback in the NFL.
Insane, man. And it really is insane.
Matthew Stafford, we've talked enough about him this week already. We know we're not high on him. You've mentioned already, you have him outside the top 28, you said?
No. I'm not that crazy. Okay. No, I would say he's 28th at quarterback.
He's 28th. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I might have to put him lower, though. It's just, the thing is, I could see him having a good game. Like this, the Rams have to play well this week. And like we said, that line is moving in the opposite direction, even with Dallas's defense. So I could see the Rams having a good performance this week. But I just, based on what we've seen from Stafford, I don't see how you could, stick with him at this point if you've been playing him. How? What have we seen? He's been terrible. 2 games with no passing touchdowns. He's locking in on Cooper Kupp. No offensive line protection. Now you're going against this Dallas front. You can't play him.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's very difficult. Like you said, no touchdowns in 2 weeks. I mean, tough for fantasy managers there. James Robinson. We talked about, obviously, Jacksonville. We're probably going to talk about Jacksonville a lot here in this segment because we do like them this week against Houston. But I guess the question is, James Robinson or Travis Etienne when it comes to this matchup against the Texans?
I mean, it's probably going to be Robinson since he's the lead back, but it could mean a good day for Travis Etienne as well. against this defense. We have seen Robinson, some of the underlying metrics have kind of gone down each week. I'd still worry about him long term. As good as the story is coming off that Achilles injury, I'm still a little bit worried. And I do see ETN getting more involved, but you got to rank Robinson higher, and he's an RB1 this week. We've seen Houston just get destroyed on the ground. Austin Eckler had his big game last week. We could have predicted that. They've allowed the most fantasy points to running backs this year. Jonathan Taylor, 161. Khalil Herbert, 157. I mean, Eckler didn't do much on the ground. He did it mostly in the passing game, but he still averaged over 5 yards per carry at 13 for 60. So they've been getting shredded.
Sure. How are you feeling about J.K. Dobbins after his 2-touchdown week last week?
I think you got to feel good about him right now because there's not much in that backfield, and it's 2 straight weeks. So I think you feel confident playing him at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. They did designate Gus Edwards to return, so that opens his 21-day window. We'll see exactly what that running back split ends up playing up once they get Edwards back. Another guy that averaged almost 5 yards a carry for his career, even in like his limited playing time there. So we'll see how quickly he gets worked in. We mentioned Devin Singletary. I'm high on him this week. I got him in a lot of lineups. We'll even probably venture to play him in some DFS this week as well. Wide receivers. Romeo Doubs for you. Is he like a sure lock fire start every week at this point?
He's getting close. I mean, we see that he's gaining the confidence of Rodgers. The targets are there. Could have been an even bigger game if he held on to that pass in the end zone. I don't think it was like an easy, I wouldn't call that a drop, but if he would have caught that, would have been an even bigger week. So, I think him and Lazard clearly are the top 2 guys. So I have them both as wide receiver 3s this week.
And then DJ Moore. Thoughts on DJ Moore and the Baker Mayfield experience there in Carolina?
It's bad, man. I mean, he's just fallen down the rankings. And this week against the 49ers, they have been the best defense in football. They are number 1 in DVOA. They've allowed 46 points this year. So they're a tough matchup for anyone. And now you put Baker Mayfield in this offense against him. You can't feel good about DJ Moore right now.
Yeah, no, for sure not. Tyler Higbee, we were down on Stafford, but are we in on Higbee?
Yeah, definitely. When you look at that tight end situation, he's getting the targets every single week. So he's a top 5 tight end right now.
Yeah, I got to play it. Then Kyle Pitts not practicing back-to-back weeks here, so I got to think he's going to be moving down your rankings considering where he probably was just to begin with.
Yeah, I think most people probably have to play him, but he's outside the top 5 tight ends for the first time this week.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Continue to follow along here. This is the Playbook. I'm John Pember with Adam Rose. Tomorrow, you'll have Fancy back, Adam. Sorry to tell you. This is the Playbook on the Bettor Sports Network.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.